we have more people than we have ever had who have no home at all, who are sleeping in ravines, in friends' couches, who are being turned away from supportive housing providers and shelters. We know that supportive housing is full. We know that the wait list for community housing has never been longer. We, on National Housing Day, are in a national housing crisis. A few years ago, the Auditor General said that the Conservative government has no plan to address the homelessness crisis. And it's been a few years later and there's still no plan. In fact, it has gotten worse. The government is cutting funding to affordable housing and supportive housing. And with Bill 23, the controversial Bill 23, we have seen $500 million be removed from municipal budgets that was earmarked towards supportive housing and affordable housing. So municipalities now have to do more with less at a time when the crisis has never been worse. This is National Housing Day. We are calling for a real plan to fix the housing crisis and end homelessness. That plan needs to include a doubling of investment to supportive housing and affordable housing in the next budget. It needs to include a homes first strategy where governments buy and build housing on public land. We need more investments in mental health and healthcare so we can provide the wraparound services to people who are in need. And we need real rent control and vacancy control so we can stop the increase in the number of evictions that are happening across our province and the skyrocketing cost of rent. That is what we are calling for on National Housing Day. I'm really pleased you are here, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Suni Chang, the Executive Director of Suni. Thank you so much for Suni.
Thank you, Jess. So today's National Housing Day. My name is Suni Chang. I'm the co-chair of the Coalition of Women's Shelter and Supportive Housing Providers. We're comprised of agencies that represent all corners of the province. We see firsthand that the situation for impoverished women is getting worse and worse when it comes to accessing affordable supportive housing. Given their circumstances, housing affordability is not possible for clients. Many are fleeing difficult, violent domestic situations. Others have been chronically homeless with exposure to substances in the justice system. And others still have traveled halfway across the world, fleeing violence and persecution, and have come here to find a cold and friendly system. There is a very gendered nature to supportive housing for women. Sadly, in all instances, our clients are survivors of gender-based violence and other forms of intimate partner violence. This goes hand in hand with unmet mental health and trauma needs that they have. Housing, and specifically supportive housing, is a provincial responsibility, and therefore the homeless and housing crises are provincial responsibilities. If there is no supportive housing for women in need, then they cannot leave the shelters they're in, and this in turn means that there are no extra beds for new shelter users. When it comes to supportive housing, vulnerable women are getting left behind and ignored. I'm also the executive director of Street Haven, a women's shelter, supportive housing, and addiction treatment provider, and we've been serving women for nearly 60 years. My agency turned away 600 women since mid-June from our shelter site because there are not enough supportive housing and affordable housing units. We want this government to commit to making a substantial investment, at least doubling the investments in supportive housing targeting vulnerable groups such as women in 2025. This investment must be made alongside mental health investments attached to that supportive housing. We also demand that the province consider doubling the housing off in 2025. Housing is not being built fast enough, and the only way to afford market rents is through COG. We also request that a multi-stakeholder table comprised of not-for-profit agencies from across different agencies in the established sectors be established to help shape the housing strategy and the homelessness prevention plan. Look, it's no accident that over 55 not-for-profit agencies, alliances, and networks, clients, and individuals showed up here today at Queen's Park to ensure that their voices and their concerns were acknowledged and showcased. We're demanding that the provincial government play a stronger, more proactive role that will move the needle in a real way in dealing with this housing crisis for vulnerable population groups. And I'll turn the stage over to the next speaker, Victoria Roslin, Executive Director of the Smith Society of Northeastern Ontario.
Thank you, Suni. Good morning, everyone. My name is Corey Roslin, and I'm here today with 17 members from the Elizabeth Society of Northeastern Ontario. provide services and programming for women at risk in Sudbury and the Nipissing district. And I would like to acknowledge our team members here today with me, Talissa and Lori Dale, for their inspiring hard work to support people, particularly women and gender diverse people experiencing homelessness in our northern communities. The northern communities has a smaller population, a more rural population, and a more spread out population. We have less overall resources to support those who are at risk of experiencing homelessness. Our northern communities experience harsher weather, both the extreme cold in winter and the heat in the summer. We have less access to supports to address all of the complex needs that form the intersection of issues leading to homelessness, including mental illness, substance use, and addictions, the experiences of violence and trauma, including intimate partner violence, particularly for women, and poverty. Across our province, we are also seeing the criminalization of survival in our communities. Communities that are failing to adequately support those who need it most, and this has to stop. Solutions to homelessness do not include incarceration. They do not include disbursement of tent cities or the creation and enforcement of laws to address the visibility of homelessness. What is needed for us to make any strides in reducing homelessness is both supportive housing and deeply affordable housing. We need collaboration from all levels of government, including the provincial government, to accomplish this. We need our governments to have a willingness to be courageous, to be creative, and to listen to the voices of the people that are deep in the weeds of this crisis. And that is the people working in it, and most importantly, the people experiencing it. And many of us are here today. Thank you.
Of course, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for coming out as well. I'd like to invite Tabitha Golbaka to the podium.
She's coming. She's right there.
Okay, Anna Morgan.
My name is Anna Morgan, and I'm from Ernestine Shelter. Ernestine is participating today in the National Day for Housing Awareness to bring awareness to the housing crisis and the urgent need for more investment in deeply affordable housing to meet the needs of women, two-spirit, trans, non-binary, and gender-diverse communities and their children experiencing homelessness due to the intersections of poverty, race, gender identity, disability, mental health, substance use, immigration status, and other forms of oppression. At Ernestine, we currently see the need for affordable housing for our clients means that the people we work with continue to be stuck in cycles of violence and chronic homelessness. Without deeply affordable housing, individuals experiencing gender-based violence are likely to go back to abusive situations, be vulnerable to continued abuse, or stay with their abusers. It also means that clients are staying longer in our shelter. Ernestine's operate at 110 capacity so far this year and has continued to operate at capacity. We have already turned away almost 200 clients this year. Without deeply affordable housing for clients to move into, we risk our lack of shelter beds will continue to meet the immediate needs of individuals experiencing violence. Because Ernestine continues to operate at capacity, we have had to turn communal spaces into bedrooms, and we've had to serve families of up to 5 individuals in rooms not meant to be shelter beds. When we talk about women's homelessness, we also need to talk about women-led families, and that means children's homelessness. Over half of the clients in our shelter are children and orphans. We also need housing that responds to the diverse needs of the clients we are servicing. Beyond deeply affordable housing, we need housing investments in diverse types of housing, including supportive housing with appropriate mental health support, supportive housing for families, diverse unit sizes, including large family units and accessible units. At Ernestine, we've seen an increase in need for clients accessing our services who also need mental health and harm reduction support, and have also indicated having a disability or chronic health issue that affects their everyday life. Over the majority of the clients who are coming into our services also met the definition of chronic homelessness, showing the link between gender-based violence and homelessness. These numbers confirm that a significant portion of families staying within the shelter have been struggling with homelessness for an extended period of time, often long before the specific crisis that brought them to the shelter. We've continued to support folks who've experienced chronic homelessness, and due to mental health needs and lack of support, clients often went from shelter to shelter and experienced many forms of housing instability and lack of access to appropriate care. Clients continue to be vulnerable to instability, criminalization, and risk of continued violence and abuse when they do not have access to appropriate supportive housing. The estimated wait times in Toronto for supportive housing are 5+ years. And for families who need a larger bedroom size of +3 years, larger bedroom size over 3 bedrooms, the wait times for housing is 15 years. We again reiterate the urgent need for the government to make significant investment in deeply affordable and equitable housing, and that also responds to the diverse needs of vulnerable women, gender diverse individuals, and their families in order to help break the cycle of violence and homelessness. Investment in deeply affordable housing also needs to be prioritized within the nonprofit sector so that we can maintain affordable housing that makes housing a human right. We are already in a housing crisis. Failure to do this will condemn women and gender diverse individuals and their children to continue cycles of violence and homelessness.
Next up, I'd like to introduce Tabitha Kalbaka. Thank you so much for
My name is Tabitha Ashoka. I come from Kenya. I came here on 1st December from our home. Where I got many problems there. When I came here, I faced problems with family, where to go. So I stayed in the bigger street 1 week, and then walking about finding a shelter. But on 29, I find a shelter in Haven Street, where I was hosted very well, and I thank God for that. In our home, I used to have an organization called Can Be Done, where I worked there at 4 years. Uh, One day we hosted the girls as uh, we have a relationship, and it comes very back for me, and that's why it can please me to come here. I'm very grateful to Haven Street because have hosted me very well even this time. God bless you all. So your party is so good and you are so generous. Thank you.
next up, our final speaker is Kizito Subhumana, the Executive Director of the Rwanda Canadian Healing Center.
Thank you so much. I know. I want to start by, and obviously I miss a few speakers here, so I'm not sure what was said, but I want to remind everybody that just last week we lost a migrant. We've been losing people. We lost a homeless person a few days ago as well. And since July 14th, we've been calling, screaming, requesting that the federal government, the representatives, understand what's going on and take action. And personally, I would like to say that what I've come to understand is that we don't have an affordable housing crisis. We don't have a homeless crisis or an asylum or migrant seekers crisis. I do believe, right, we do have a bureaucracy crisis.
Yay.
Why I say that, we've been going, so I'm saying this, and I want to go back to kind of show you how this has been happening. In December of 2022, the federal government made a decision to remove a lot of requirements for newcomers, mostly students. And in doing that, they have done nothing to address the actual environment in which they're coming. We have always known that we needed more housing. We have always known that we needed to look at everything on the table. As we speak, we are having at least 400 people coming into the city of Toronto, of which about 25% are going into shelter systems. We have about 9,000 shelter beds in Toronto. About 4,000 of those are migrants. We're having 4,000 migrants in shelter systems coming in, and 12,000 scattered across the hotels, as you all know. And I'm saying all of that. That does not address the numbers that are in the churches and mosques, which we've been fighting every day from the city, from the federal government, to actually acknowledge by providing actual resources instead of just words that don't mean anything. So, yeah, we have a bureaucracy problem. We don't have anybody that can actually make a decision on what needs to be done. Everybody's telling us who they are going to talk to. We've been going since June. It's now almost December. People are dying on the streets, and we're not getting anybody to actually do anything other than maybe we open an armory here, which we would love to see, reception center, which we would love to see. But where is actual funds? The city of Toronto is operating on about $91 million for just shelter systems. We've submitted a few requests for them to provide some of that to the churches so we can actually make sure that people are housed. That has not happened. Of course, the federal government has done nothing. And I would like to say that it's disappointing. Um, we are continuing to call on all our leaders to prioritize the health and the welfare of our people. And I mean everybody, not just the migrants, not just the African migrants, but to really start looking at those individuals as people, not the guidelines on their paperwork, not the policies that are no longer applied. We ask, and we do believe that this is an issue, the migrant and asylum seeker issue is a government responsibility. However, what we've been getting is so alarming for so many underserved communities and groups that are in desperate need, especially when we know that the government has acted in similar refugee issue when similar refugee issue rose up. We've acted for Afghans, we've acted for Syrians, we've acted recently for the Ukrainians. And what we are asking is as simple that the government does does the same thing for the African migrant and asylum seekers by housing them, by providing shelter, because we believe housing in Canada should be a right, not a privilege for a few, or a right for everybody, is what I would like to say. There are people who are highly motivated here, people who are educated, people who are looking to work. And I think most of us, not as those of us here, but the people who are refusing to help them think they're here for a handout. These are people who come here for a better life. And we ask Canada, we ask our representative to do the right thing and provide them just that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, well, we're going to go inside today and do question period. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.